Welcome, everyone. Looks like we have most of our attendees here, so we're going to go ahead and kick things off today. Wanted to welcome everyone to our latest installment of the Market Time Planned Content webinars, where we like to take all of our users through different, features in our different platforms that we utilize. This one, we're going to be covering things more specific to the B2B e-commerce sites. This webinar specifically is going to be about designing your site and driving traffic. And we have the pleasure to bring on our friend Amelia Light. She is an expert in the field. And so we're going to be talking about all things design whenever it comes to digital. So websites, email campaigns, your branding, all things about your business and best practices for it. A lot of the implementation will be for your B2B e-commerce platforms, where a lot of you on this call, maybe some of you don't have it yet and are looking forward to utilizing it, but have the ability to have your customers go to your website and place their orders directly through for all their wholesale needs. So this is our latest installment. This session will be recorded, and so if you guys do have to leave abruptly, that's totally fine. You will be sent a copy of the recording, I believe just a handful of hours after the session is ended. So definitely feel free to leave if you have another appointment to get to, and you'll get sent a recording. But I did want to welcome you all here. Thanks so much for joining. At the very end of this, we will have probably about 15 minutes or so for questions. In the GoToWebinar panel, you should have a button for your questions to put them in there. You can ask questions to myself. We also have Iris and Callie on the line from Brandwise who will be able to answer questions. And of course, the brilliant Amelia will be able to answer any design questions that you might have. Hi, Iris. So any questions at all you guys might have, feel free to put them in the questions pane in GoToWebinar, and we'll be able to get to them at the end. But today's team. So a lot of you guys might know me, some of you might not. My name is Doc Mackey, and I am the VP Solutions Engineer at Market Time. I have been here for 10 years, previously worked for RepTime and then Market Time since its inception. I've worked on the solutions side, I've worked on the support side and the sales side, and I feel like I know the industry pretty well. And then I will let Miss Amelia introduce herself.
Hey, Doc, thanks. Really excited to be here with you today and share some practical tips for designing your e-commerce site. My name is Amelia Light. I am a creative director, graphic and visual designer based in Dallas. I also teach a class on visual design at Collin College, and I am an MFA candidate at Savannah College of Art and Design. I've got 15 years of experience in the field of graphic design and branding. I've worked across a ton of different verticals, and I really love developing experiences that foster meaningful connections with audiences and brands. So I'm happy to come and share some of that expertise with you today. All right. So in today's webinar, we're going to cover several best practices for branding your e-commerce site. These will include aesthetics, or how to effectively brand your site and all of your customer touch points to make it look great. Driving traffic, so some strategies for getting the word out and getting customers to your site. Making it easy, things to keep in mind to make the shopping process easy for buyers. And then loading relevant content, some guidelines for loading the content on your site that buyers need. So let's start off with some of the best practices for making your site look awesome. So your brand, if you think about it, is the entire experience that customers have when they work with you, end to end. You've worked really hard to build that relationship, so it makes perfect sense to leverage that relationship by branding your e-commerce site. Extending your brand visually across not only your site, but all of those customer touch points creates a strong sense of stability, consistency, and trust for your customers. Your brand allows you to express the unique personality or experience that they have with you. It also allows you to position yourself uniquely within the marketplace. So that's a number of reasons why it's important to brand your site, but let's talk about how you can actually do that. So you may hear the word brand and think, awesome, I've got a style guide, I've got a brand guide, I know what to do. Or you might be on the other side of that and think, oh no, we're not quite there yet, or I don't have a documented style or set of guidelines. Good news either way, we've got you covered. Making your site and all of your customer touchpoints look really good comes down to two key things: consistency and cohesion. So consistency is choosing a common set of colors, fonts, and images that you will use across all of your touchpoints. And then cohesion is applying those things across that entire ecosystem of communication. So that's email, that's website, social media, printables and leave behinds, etc. Every channel and platform is going to have a different level of configurability or a different set of constraints. So cohesion really speaks to making the choices that make all of those disparate things feel like a family. And speaking of using these things consistently, let's look at some of the practical tools and tips to help make your site look its very best. Keep in mind that your aesthetic or visual choices should be made with the goal of creating a great customer experience. And the 4 elements on this slide, when applied thoughtfully and consistently, can help you do just that. So for color, you want to focus on choosing 2 to 3 main colors that align with your brand. If you've got a style guide or a brand guide, this would be your primary color palette. You want at least one that's legible with black text, one that's legible with white, so that customers have an easy time reading the information that you're putting on your site. Tools like Canva's Color Wheel and Adobe's Color Palette Builder can help you choose colors that align to your brand and also work across all these different touch points. For fonts, these are the visual equivalent of your brand's voice. You want to choose a font that's easy to read, but also expresses your brand's unique personality. For instance, on this slide, you can see that the headline Aesthetic Basics is in a font that's professional and corporate and classic. And then the copy is in a different font that's super easy to read. It's very balanced, it's very nice on the eyes. It doesn't make it hard to actually read the information. For images, you hear that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but the value of a suite of consistent imagery is priceless. Images should look and feel like they belong in the same family. We keep saying that, but that means consistent lighting, colors, styling, and arrangement. Stock libraries are a really useful tool to surface images with the same aesthetic. So if you find one that you like, tools like iStock and Unsplashes are going to recommend images that look similar. So that's a good way to start building that library of lifestyle images that feels really cohesive. And then lastly, on your messages, you want to align your language across channels. And what we mean by that is you want to build association and knowledge for your customers by referring to your brand, your processes, and your products with consistent language. So for example, if you list your product categories on a printable that you leave behind at a meeting, you want your customer to be able to take that printable, go to your e-commerce site, and then see the same categories that are there. So it's very easy for them to go from one medium to another and navigate. You just want to make this super easy, because the more easy this process is for them, the more likely they are to have a good experience and have a good relationship with you. So let's look at a couple of examples of some market time and brand-wise customers that have done this really well. First up, we have Lightovation. And you can see here that they've incorporated their brand blue, not only in that top bar, but you see it in the buttons that they have and also in that overlay over the image on the left-hand side there. They've also incorporated their brand fonts in those headlines and in the copy. And they've chosen a consistent style of imagery, which you can see if you go through the slider right on their website. Another example is Categorizing's e-commerce site that's on the Brandwise platform. It's an awesome example of how color and images have been thoughtfully selected to communicate that brand experience within the configurability of the platform. So they loaded the actual logos of each category instead of relying solely on the name and the text below the image, which is great because customers can see the visual of the logo, not only just the text, and be drawn to that quickly. And the other thing that they did that was very clever was uploading all of these logos in a black and white or grayscale palette so that there's not a distraction with a lot of different colors here on the page. It's very clean, very modern, very sophisticated, and it's very easy to navigate. There's not a lot of distraction. I also want you to note the lifestyle images. Even though they represent different brands, different categories, they've been chosen to feel extremely cohesive. And so this is a great example of what we talk about when we say they're a family of images. The lighting is consistent, they are bright and open, there's all neutral tones, and that makes them feel super, super consistent across every single category. All right, and now that you've had some strategies to implement the look and feel of your brand on your e-commerce site, it's time to get the word out and start driving traffic. On this next slide, there's just a few of the many possible ways that you can start to drive customers to your e-commerce site and get the word out. Email signatures are awesome. We'll see an example in a moment of how this can be done really successfully. You can add a line to your signature. You can add a link to a walkthrough of a demo or a sign-up link. And then, like I said, we'll show you an example of how that can work. Social media is great because you already have people engaging with your content in a place that's dedicated to that. There's a ton of visual real estate where you can create ads that are very engaging, that give people information and can link back to your site. Appointments, if you're going to be meeting face-to-face in person anyways, including a line or a link on your order sheets, leaving behind printables that talk about the e-commerce site and give them practical steps of how to access are a great idea. Webinars, just like this one, are a really great way to have a demo if you want to schedule that and show people how to access the site and navigate it. You can also mention this in your announcements or your housekeeping, right? Just give people a little shout out that, hey, this is available to you, it's super easy to use, or you can schedule time with us to talk about how it works, right? Email campaigns give you the opportunity with lots of different components and a little bit of a longer format. So if you need to give like a list of how to access or bullet points of tips and tricks or a banner kind of advertising that site, you've got all those options available to you. And then QR codes. Who here doesn't know how to use a QR code now, right? We use it for everything from opening menus to paying to accessing websites, which is exactly how you'd want to use it here. It's a lot easier than remembering a URL, and it's super easy to add to just about any piece of communication. So let's look at a couple of those examples and see what I mean. So in this email signature from our friends at Diverse Marketing, you can see immediately that it's diverse, it's vibrant, it's really fun and energetic. So it's capturing the spirit of their brand right here in this email signature. There's a lot of practical information like name, their title, locations, contact information, and then it's really hard to miss that shop now link, right? It definitely draws the eye, engages you, and makes you want to click on that to go to their site. So this is done really well. And then let's take a look at social media. How many of you saw this ad on LinkedIn and registered because you saw this advertisement, right? What's great about this ad is that it leverages both MarketTime's font and the green from the color palette. And so you're building that brand association, but it also gives a lot of really practical information, the date, the time, who's speaking, how to get there. And then the copy supports all of those ideas that are expressed in the visual, right? You can check out the speakers, you can check out the different brands that are represented and the companies that are represented. You can register and find out exactly what we're going to be talking about. So it's an example of how social media can be really successful at driving traffic and getting people engaged. All right, and now that you have those practical strategies and you're ready to get the word out, we're going to talk to Doc about how you can make it super easy to navigate the process once buyers get to your site.
Thanks so much, Amelia. Yes, so I wanted to cover how to make your B2B e-commerce website easy, from onboarding to buying, you know, as much as you can do as an agency or a brand to make buying your products easy online, you're going to want to do it. And so I'm going to take you through a few slides of examples for that. The first and arguably most important step you want to take is customer onboarding. So whenever you've launched a new B2B e-commerce website or buying program, or just a new website in general that you expect your customers to use, well, your customers are your users. And just like us, whenever we onboard new clients to MarketTime or BrandWise, we take them to an onboarding process to make sure that they're able to use the technology well. And so one of the strategies that I've heard from a lot of successful reps out there who have been able to get their customers to start using their B2B e-commerce web platform it is to literally sit with them in person and get them signed up, take them through an order. So as the reps are out in the field meeting with customers in their stores, it's a very simple process to take. So rather than you having to enter in the order into your platform like normal, like you've been doing for 30 plus years, just walk your customer through the order online. That way they're used to it and they're familiar with it the next time. Or maybe it's midnight on a Sunday and they don't want to bother the rep necessarily. They want to just log into your website, start shopping through your items, and do a little bit of it themselves. So walking a customer through an order on the website is a very successful method in customer onboarding. The next one's going to be item categories and collections. So categorizing your products on your e-commerce website is by far one of the easiest little cheats you can do to just make shopping easier. If you've ever seen any e-commerce website out there, Amazon, Etsy, there's always categories set up for products because a lot of times buyers don't know what they're searching for. If they do, usually the search bar is the method. Just key in the search bar, which has other requirements that I'll get to. But item categorization categorization or collections, any way you can group your items together. That way the customer can click through categories of their interest. Will make all the difference to just making shopping easier on your website. It makes search more efficient whenever you do have items categorized because they can search by those categories. And then it'll also, just add filterability to the products on your website. The third topic to make things easier is to, of course, have item imagery. Now, this should be second nature, but I've definitely worked with a lot of vendors in my past, as well as agencies who have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of products. So getting your product imagery loaded in can certainly be a huge task, but it does make all the difference on your B2B e-commerce website. It'll make it much more aesthetically pleasing, but it also makes it easier, right? I mean, they're able to see actually what that product looks like, as opposed to having to trust a description or, look up a SKU number or something like that. It's going to make all the difference. And even though it is a lot of the heavy lifting for launching a new B2B e-commerce website, it is well worth the time, and hopefully you don't have to do it more than once. The third one's going to be item descriptions, and this brings back the topic I was talking about for searchability. If your products on your B2B e-commerce website aren't very searchable, meaning the descriptions are short, they're not very thorough or concise about what the product is or what the product options are, then you're making it more difficult for your buyers. If you do have a more clear and concise item description, it's going to make all the difference for searchability. That way, whenever customers are searching, they can actually find the items that they want. I mean, Google has spent billions and billions of dollars on their search algorithms and how to make searching easier. And so, I definitely can't explain to you how best to make your product descriptions. But, for example, if someone's searching for plush dolls, they might search by plush, they might search by dolls, they might search by giraffes. So you want to think of all these different things whenever you are putting up your product descriptions on the website, just to make it more searchable and easier for your customers to find what they're looking for. The last thing to make things easier are going to be making sure you have brand logos. Like Amelia had pointed out there on the Categorization website, they had incorporated the brand logos into all of their lifestyle images, which is a very smart move. A lot of customers have brand recognition, or buyers have brand recognition whenever they're shopping. And so seeing a noticeable logo right off the bat is going to make it easier for them to get where they need to go. Trying to figure out the text name for all these brands is a lot difficult, and so brand logos a lot easier to find what you're looking for, because most times they know what brand they're shopping for. So making sure you have a nice, clean, preferably high resolution brand logo for all the brands on your website, or if you're a supplier, a single brand, just making sure that you do have brand logos on the website everywhere possible. It's going to make shopping a lot easier. The next thing I wanted to cover is making sure you have relevant content on your website. It's going to add value to your B2B e-commerce website, and just more value than the shoppability will. A lot of our customers have websites of their own, right? And then they, of course, add the tag on for their brand-wise B2B e-commerce or their market time B2B e-commerce. And so being able to add more value to your website and make it give your customers more reasons to go to it outside of just shopping and placing their orders will be great. The first topic is different things that are relevant for you to upload to your website. The first largest one I can think of in the wholesale industry is going to be catalogs, just because still customers are very familiar and have a necessity for PDF printed catalogs for each one of the brands. So making sure you do have all of the relevant catalogs uploaded to your B2B e-commerce website, or if you're doing it on the front page for your website, wherever you're loading these catalogs, making sure that you do have enough of that content loaded up. I know both in the BrandWise platform as well as the Market Time platform, we have shoppable catalogs, which are even better. If you can upload a shoppable catalog, that's great, because it allows the customer to actually interact with the catalog, flip through it, and order from it. But even if you don't have a shoppable catalog, just making sure you have PDF catalogs for all of your brands, that is certainly one of the most important content you can upload on your website. The next one's going to be item categories. We talked a little bit about those in our last slide with how they make shopping on a B2B e-commerce website easier. but it's also relevant content that you just want to load up in general for all your products. Your reps can use it out in the field when they're writing orders on their iPads. Your customers can use it on your B2B e-commerce website, of course. So making sure to categorize your items to make search more efficient, and then grouping items into collections for filterability. The next step is going to be promotions. Promotions are also relevant content that you definitely want on your B2B e-commerce website. Your reps use them when they're in the field writing orders. The vendors use them in the showrooms whenever they're writing orders in front of customers. And it's relevant content. They need to have promotions available. So if there's a year-round free freight special, but they have to meet $1,000 orders, they probably want to know that, just in case they're sitting right around the $900 mark and they're only a couple bucks away from free freight. So having promotions loaded in for each one of your brands, whether they're year-round freight specials, if they're restricted deals for only certain buying groups, whatever those promotions are, making sure they're loaded up on your website is very important. Another thing that is increasingly more important is going to be having inventory availability. This one's also can be a bit of a hassle if you are dealing with hundreds of thousands of product on your e-commerce website, but especially since probably 2020, it's certainly a growing concern with supply chain issues. Being able to provide your customers with enough knowledge on which products are in stock, which ones will be in stock on a certain date. So having this relevant content loaded up for your products is a must. If you can get it from your vendors in any form or fashion, I know both MarketTime and Brandwise have certain integrations we can provide your vendors to flow this data into the platform more efficiently than you having to load it in from an Excel file manually. Whichever method you can do it, because not only is it just available to the reps when they're writing orders, but it's also available to the customers when they're writing orders on your B2B e-commerce website. They'll be able to see data points for products that are important to them, such as quantity on hand, if it's available or not available. If it's not available, what is the next available date that the manufacturer presumes it's going to be back available? So just these little key data points are going to make shopping a whole lot easier and providing information to your customers a lot more relevant. The last one's going to be a brand page. Just having information about the brand on the brand pages is very important. One of those things, of course, in the wholesale world is the minimum order dollar amounts. Having that loaded in for each one of your brands, I would think, is probably very important. Other things that can be shown on your brand page that are relevant content are brand descriptions. I generally try to avoid putting in, a whole giant paragraph about a brand description. Keep it short, simple, and concise for your products on your brand page. Or the longer you get, it's going to end up scooting your products further down, which is bad. You want to make sure the products are front and center for your customers whenever they are navigating through your B2B e-commerce website, because that's your goal, to get them to order. So they want to see products, but having a sentence or two about a brand, just describing what that brand's all about, what their product types are, maybe a little bit about their history, just short and concise information about the brand can go a long way. And the last thing is contact information. A lot of the times, if they're needing to contact a brand for certain information that they might not be able to get from the rep, I think generally the rep can provide them with all the information that they need, but having some contact information in for the brand is also relevant content that your customers might find beneficial. And this is our last slide before we're going to go into questions. So I see there is some questions rolling in, guys. Just wanted to remind you that if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the questions pane in GoToWebinar. And then we're going to take about 15-20 minutes to start going through questions. If you have design questions for Amelia, feel free to pop them in there and we can direct her to provide you with some good knowledge on design. Maybe you have questions on your website. I know I've worked with a lot of agencies and brands just over the past couple of years that are redesigning their whole website. So if you have questions about that Amelia can help out with, definitely put them in the questions pane. If you have any technical questions, either from the MarketTime side, I can answer. From the Brandwise side, we've got Iris on the call with us who can help answer technical questions about the Brandwise B2B e-commerce websites, feel free to put those in the chat and we'll make sure to try to get to all of them. I did want to take a moment just to, make a quick shout out to our progress here at Market Time. Here's some of the new partners who use our sites and services, both Brandwise and Market Time, that have recently become active. You'll see some really good brands on there that have either recently signed up with us and came over from another product or their recent renewals. So, huge thank you to everyone that's signing up. A lot of these are made from referrals. We figure that as long as we treat our customers the right way, we support them in the right way, and we listen to them, then they'll talk to other people in the industry and provide us with referrals. We do have a referrals program. So if you guys are incentivized to hopefully, make a good word out of us to your vendors, to other acquaintances in the industry, we're very appreciative of that. So, all right, I'm going to turn it over to the questions. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling up the questions page. All right. So let's take this first question. This one is probably going to be for you, Iris. It is from Angela, and she is asking, is there anything in the works to show promotions and reach?
Hi, Angela. And Delaney, you have the same question as well for promotions. So that's definitely been a long-standing request to allow retailers to see the promotions they can apply to an order, as opposed to the current process, which is they submit an order and then the rep at that time can choose the promotion and apply it. So definitely a request we've had. I know it's something that is on the list of enhancements that we want to add. I don't have a specific timeline for you unless Callie does. Sometimes she knows a little bit more than me, but definitely on the list. I can tell you that much. I know that it's something we're all chomping at the bit for, including me specifically, as well as Callie and everybody who works closely with this stuff. So that's the best answer I can give you right now. Maybe afterwards we can give you a more specific timeline after we speak with the head honchos. So sorry, not
Perfect.
the greatest answer, but we hear you. We know it's something that we need and that you need.
We'll get it in there. Nice. Okay, next question is coming from Christina. She says, splash images are viewed where and how? Splash images, not exactly sure. So there's a bunch of different places on both websites where you're able to load in splash images or lifestyle images. On the login screen, I can go back a few pages to show you some examples. So here's an example from the Brandwise website. Whenever you're able to log into the e-commerce website for an agency, it looks like you've got your splash images or lifestyle images for each one of the brands located there. And on the Market Time e-commerce website, you're able to load in your splash images there on the home page of it. There's a couple different templates and views you can load in there, but just any lifestyle image or splash images can be loaded there on the home page. Next question is going to be from Heidi. She says, are the shoppable catalogs functioning at this time? Yes, they are. In both platforms, the shoppable catalogs are functioning, and you're able to load them up for each one of your brands and have your customers shop through them on the B2B e-commerce websites. And of course, your reps can use them out in the field. Next question is going to be from Paula. She says, hello, I have done some design to our website, but I'm unsure how to do some of the layouts on your example site you showed at the beginning. Can you show where we can do that? Yes, so it is all controlled under the B2B e-commerce settings page in Market Time, and that's where you're able to control that splash page or that home page of the examples, Paula. And reach out to me if you need any explanation on that. I can show you exactly where in the settings you're able to go to make those. Amanda says, can you please explain your keyword format? So the searchability throughout, and I can answer from the market time side, the searchability in market time searches through a bunch of other fields other than just the product name field. So it's gonna, whenever a customer goes to your B2B e-commerce website and punches in the search bar something, it's gonna search through the item number field, it's gonna search through the item name field, searches through the description field, searches through the UPC code field as well as the category. So it's searching through a bunch of different fields there. And I'd like Iris to kind of explain how the search bar searching works in the brand-wise side as well.
Yeah, so all of those that you covered, name, UPC, item description, are all definitely searchable. The only thing you've got a leg up on us for are categories. So you can't quite yet search products within a category. Or I'm sorry, if you choose a category, you can, but an overall search for a category itself isn't available yet. But everything you mentioned is definitely available on the Brandwise side as well.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, Amanda, I guess as far as keyword format, you've got a bunch of different fields to work with there where it is searchable to help making shopping easier on the B2B e-commerce websites. Next question is going to be from Heidi. She says, in more detail, what is the difference between categories and descriptions? Do they overlap or are they to be treated as separate? They are to be treated as separate. Categories are separate from descriptions. Usually categories are something that you want that is going to be a little bit more in general, something more or less descriptive than an item description. An item description should be unique to that one item, whereas a category, you're going to have multiple items fitting in those categories. And you could even, have it broken down by a hierarchy. That way you have the most general category that's going to break it down to the subcategory, which is going to be a little bit more specific. But that's the main difference between your categories and your descriptions. Our descriptions are going to be very specific, categories less specific. We have a question from Ash. This one's for you, Amelia. She says, can you talk about image sizes, DPI resolution, etc. for websites, and how that affects maybe the efficiency of the customers, like, for example, how the website loads quickly versus slowly versus an image that shines, so like a really high resolution image. What's your recommendations on those?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Your best practice is going to be to load your image at the exact size, so making sure it's cropped to that size, and then at the resolution of 72 dpi. So if you think about like compression, if you were to load a super high resolution image that's a really large file format, and you do that for all of your different categories and all of your splash images and lifestyle images, that's what really slows your website down, is because it's trying to load all of that data. But if you're loading just what you need at the correct resolution for viewing on a screen, then your site is going to load fast, and that's optimized to be viewed in that experience. So you're still going to have a great quality image that's not going to get skewed or stretched, right? Because it's trying to fit into a certain size box, and it's also going to keep your site loading really quickly.
Perfect. So 72 DPI is what you're shooting for web, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I think I remember that from my graphic design page, and I think 300 is for print. So yeah,
exactly right. And then somewhere within your platform, you'll have those specs, right, that will tell you exactly width and height that you want to shoot for when you're loading.
Correct. Yep, that is right. Awesome answer. Next question we have is from Alexis. She says, will you please send more information on how the referral program works? We certainly can. I'm going to ask Callie or Meredith to take that one for Alexis to send her some information for us follow-up. Perfect. Next question we have from Lauren. She says, is there a way to add subcategories under each manufacturer? For example, under an apparel brand, we have an option to categorize all dresses or tops in one place. Yes, I know in market time, there's a place where you can add in your subcategories. We call it the category tree, where you're able to, design your category tree the way you want it to work, where you have your parent categories, then your subcategories, and you're able to tag items either manually one by one if you pull up the items in the item page, or if you want to import them, which is the way we recommend it, a lot faster that way, then you're able to import your items with their appropriate categories and subcategories. Iris, could you explain a little bit how categories are managed in Brandwise?
Yeah, so they are uploaded, so there's no really assignment one by one. It's all from an upload spreadsheet, but you can have up to, I believe, 25 top level categories. You can get a really long list of top levels. And then within each top level, you can have up to 3 subcategories. So you can break it down even further from that top level. You don't have to have subcategories, but you certainly can. It's a really nice way to break down your products. So yeah, I don't know how deep yours go, but it's exactly the same in terms of a tree. We speak the exact same language, which is awesome. So yeah, a tree that you can break down, and again, 3 levels deep and then up to 25 top levels.
Perfect. All righty. We have a question from Amanda. I think this one's going to be for Amelia. Says, can you please explain how to use HTML code to alter the text display? For example, paragraph, bold, italics. Are you an HTML expert, Amelia?
I am hesitant to call myself an expert at anything because that invites the one thing that you're not an expert at, but I do know enough to help in this situation. So if you're in like a text editor, right, and you're not in what's called a WYSIWYG, right, it's like a design editor where you can see, highlight it and click the bold button, right? So if you're using HTML to do some inline editing, if you want to bold a selection, you want to put your triangle brackets. So on one side of the bold where you want it to start, you have the triangles and the word B, and then on the other side, you would put same thing, but also a /, right? So end the bold. And that would be how you would do that. Inline editing just gets tricky. You can look up lists of HTML tags that you can add and how to do that. I think Codebase is a place where you can look that up, and then Gracious, I'll send that over to Doc and the team. There's a couple of other resources that are really great for looking at those tags and how you might go about that to do some inline styling. If you can use what's in there already, that's kind of your best bet because you know exactly what it's going to look like. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you are advanced enough to do the HTML tags, definitely go for it. It gives you lots of extra configurability.
Awesome. All right. Next question we're going to have from Sandy. She says, can buyers search by item number? Yes, absolutely. In both platforms, buyers can search by item number, which I know a lot of them are familiar enough with. At least I know a lot of reps too that's the way they do it. Whenever you guys are keying in the orders, you're just keying in the item number and pressing enter, right? So yeah, buyers can do it the same way. Correct, Iris? Like item number, good, right? Perfect. I thought so. Awesome. Amanda says, how do shoppers on Market Time who are not yet our customers view our catalog? Good question, because generally the catalog and information like that is, they have to sign in first, right, to see it. It's an exclusive website. So outside of forcing them to sign into your B2B e-commerce website, if you want to be able to show them the catalog, you can have it uploaded on your own website. So, like both Brandwise and Market Time, the way they work is you have your own website, and the Market Time or Brandwise side of it is just a link on your own website. So you certainly are able to upload the catalogs onto your own websites. That way they are made public as opposed to private, requiring them to sign in. Angela has a question. She says, where in Reach do you load the brand images like Categorization did? I'll let Iris take this one. And I'll show you the example, Iris, if you need it.
Yeah, I was going to log in, but if you've got it, that'd be awesome. But yeah, so the brand images, the ones that are showing up right here, those are controlled by the brand in their Passport. So on the screen where they go to upload their transit files that you guys receive via email through Passport, they have a little link in there that says, email support. And when they click on that link, it will allow them to attach their brand image. So at this time, they have to send it to us, but they can do that through their Passport. And then once we get it in support, we'll upload it for them. And they can do that at any time. So if they're changing it seasonally or anything like that, eventually I think we'll give them the ability to upload within their Passport themselves, but you know, the image, but at this time it's an email to support from within their Passport. Jennifer, thank you. She said, Jennifer, it's Jennifer from Categorizing. I created these and sent one to Todd to upload for us. So Todd will do it. Obviously, any of us will do it, but the general place you can send it is to support@brandwise.com. And again, they have a link from within their Passport. But yeah, as Callie said, they look amazing. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Yeah, they do look great. Next question's from Katie. She says, do you provide how-to videos on how to edit how Passport appears to our customers? I'll let Iris take that one too.
So that's do you provide how-to videos on how to edit how Passport appears to our customers? I might need some clarification on that. Edit how Passport appears. So for one thing, I guess, are you a brand or an agency? And then let's see, as far as a general appearance in terms of the page where they're shopping, right now that's kind of generic across all brands. But so I don't know if you're kind of talking about theming in terms of the site itself. So perhaps you could give me a little more clarification. I don't know if we can unmute on this call or not.
I don't think so, but we could certainly provide follow-up for those more technical questions. Yes, I would ask that we're able to provide some follow-up there. And I know Callie will put a little note there to make sure we follow up with Katie on that. Next question is from Wendy. She says, I have a catalog that has spaces in it. This makes it not shoppable. So for any, that I think you're talking about like for the OCR purposes, right, Wendy, where it runs through the OCR process to try to tag the items for you automatically. Yes, if the item numbers do have spaces in them and that makes them different from where you're in your mark time account, the item numbers don't have spaces, I can see where the OCR might run into trouble there, but you still have the ability to draw your own buttons and link the items to it manually, which might be a route to go through and still make that catalog shoppable.
I wonder how far the width of the spaces are, because I'm wondering when our same tool OCR goes through it, if the spaces are really wide versus perhaps narrow. Like, I'd be interested to see maybe if you can send us that catalog, depending on which platform you're talking about. I'd be interested to test it myself, just see if the spaces are huge. Otherwise, if they're small, maybe we can trick it into identifying. I don't know.
Right.
It's a good one.
But regardless of if it's shoppable or not, you definitely want it on your B2B e-commerce website, Wendy, like I had covered in there. So I think it's definitely important to have those, whether they're shoppable or not. Obviously, shoppable is better than not. But next question we're going to have from Chris. She says, are teasers or top items shown on the B2B? Can you share the process? Yes, they are shown on the B2B e-commerce website, Chris. I can send you a follow-up on how those look and where you set those up. Not a problem. We have a question from Amanda. So if keywords are embedded in the searchable fields, what do you enter into the tag field and what format do you use? Not sure what you're talking about for tag field there, Amanda. Is there tags in Brandwise?
No, we've got our long description is kind of how we call that.
Okay.
That searchable field. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, we do have a tag in market time. We have a tags field. I don't believe it's going to be searchable though, and yeah, keywords embedded into the searchable fields, meaning your item description, which is your long description or your product name fields, item number fields are going to be the best way to implement that for searchability. We have about 5 more minutes, guys. We're going to run through some questions and then we got to let everyone go. So feel free to put in your questions again. If we don't get to them, we will send you some follow-up to make sure we do answer your questions in the future. But we only have Amelia for a few more minutes here. So if you do have questions for Amelia, definitely please put them in the questions pane. We're going to go through, let's see. Next question is from Mary. Says, I am a brand and I would like to view my B2B site on Roadrunners to make sure the categories are correct. Images are okay, etc. Can't seem to find the link where I can see the store, just the RR brands in my storefront. Iris?
Yeah, good question. So there's kind of a couple ways you can get that. Roadrunners, they can send you a link to their shop site, and that will take you directly to a browse view of your brand. If you're already logged into your BrandWise Passport, you'll see it immediately. If you're not, it will prompt you to sign in with your BrandWise Passport, and that's where you'll see the brand. You'll also, in your BrandWise Passport on your business connections page, next to all of the agencies that you see, those are the same ones that receive your product file when you upload in transit. Next to Roadrunners, you should see a link. It's not their main website link. You could certainly go there too, a roundabout way. But their main website link, and then above that is a shop link. It says shop. And so you can click on that and it will take you directly to the Roadrunners site as well. So either of those will work, but let us know if you need further guidance, and we'll make sure you have access to that. That's certainly one of my favorite features. We ask you to do all of this work and uploading and imagery and everything like that, and now you can actually see the hard work that you've done. So yeah, great question, and we do have that capability now. So yeah, let us know if you need more info on that. And I think we have some Roadrunners folks on here too, so they've probably heard this request, which is good.
That's awesome. Next question we have from Ash. She says, some catalogs that get uploaded don't seem to have OCR working. Does the supplier need to have a specific export feature turned on for OCR to work? I am certainly not an expert on how OCR works or not. I don't know, maybe if Amelia knows anything about optical character recognition, and I do know from a design standpoint, it's probably better to have, like she said earlier in the webinar, a darker font if you have a lighter background. Right, Amelia?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not familiar with how OCR works and what process it uses to scan, but generally, as long as that, oh, you are, Iris? I see you raising your hand. I think that your text would be on like a separate layer, so like it's going to scan for the text that's there present in the image, and then it'll process it from there. So if it is, if it's still saved when it's exported as a text layer, it should be able to be scanned, I'm guessing, but if it's flattened and it's actually a part of the image where it's not a separate sort of text field, then I would imagine that OCR is going to have a hard time reading that. So that might be something that you check into.
Yeah, I mean, OCR is basically how easy can I read this on a page? So we've got the algorithm that scans through the page when you upload the catalog. For example, what you see on the page here, the items in black against white are much easier to see than perhaps the gray against white. So we call that contrast, right? You want a high contrast text on against the background. You also want to avoid fancy font, right? So again, if I'm trying to think about your grandma trying to read something on a page, like if they can't, and I have terrible eyesight, so me reading something on a page, if it's in italics or fancy, font, we're going to have a harder time recognizing that than we are, easy to identify, high resolution, as well as high contrast on the screen. So as far as an export, I'm not an expert on the exports from, as far as catalogs go, but I do know a best practice is to really have high contrast, easy to read font, and that's going to make it not as much aesthetically pleasing perhaps to the eye on the page, but it is definitely going to make the algorithm much happier. Your grandma, myself, much happier as you're trying to read through these pages.
Yeah, great thing to keep in mind across the board in all of your communications. The easier it is to read, the better experience someone's going to have with it.
And is there like a go-to font that you would recommend, Amelia, that is easier to read? Like we talk in Helvetica, like, or do you usually lean towards sans serif fonts, which are the ones that don't have the stylistic views? Like Times New Roman is serif, right? It's got the little, I don't even know what you call them, but is there a font that like your go-to fonts for readability?
Right, readability, you're exactly right. So serifs have serifs, that's what the little thingies are that you're referring to, right? And then sans serif are no serifs, right? So what we're using here in the market time presentation, I believe is Arial, but a Helvetica is great. You really want to go, especially in digital. So if you're thinking about this being on your e-commerce site or in a digital space where someone's looking at a screen, it is actually easier anatomically on our eyeballs to read something that's a sans serif because the contrast is greater, and also because you're not having to process all that extra detailed information, right? So it's cleaner, it's easier on the eyes. So use an Arial, use a Helvetica, something like that, and that's going to be the easiest to read.
Awesome, perfect. And I think that answered what looks to be our last question from Heidi. She says, do tags work on a black background? It depends. So I assume by tags, Heidi, you mean like the OCR tagging, whenever it's going to read through there and try to find those words or those letters to do the OCR. I have seen it work, but I've also seen it not work. So I think it really just depends on what we were talking about earlier and how that PDF is created. Is it created from a flattened file, meaning the character layer and the background layer are flattened, right? So it's all one layer. Or if it's an unflattened file, might be the characters might be easier to recognize for the algorithms. So it depends. I think if it's white font on a black background, probably not great if as opposed to being black font on a white background. But I have seen it work, I've seen it not work, so it depends. Oh, and she says, how do we get it to work? Well, it's all about who actually created that PDF, which is probably your vendor, your brand that sent it over to you. I think I know which brand you're talking about, but it's all about how they created it. So if it's not working, maybe reaching back out to them and asking for an unflattened file. Is that what we call it, Amelia?
Not rasterized.
Not rasterized, non-rasterized or unflat file. Just ask for them to provide you with a better file. All right, guys. Well, I think that's all of the questions. I definitely wanted to thank you again for your time, Amelia. I know what you've been sharing today is going to be incredibly helpful to all of our clients out there who are looking to stand up their B2B e-commerce websites or looking to improve their existing websites. And I just wanted to thank you for joining in today. It was great.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was awesome. Glad to share.
Perfect. And of course, Iris, thanks for joining in. Callie, as always, thanks for helping us out with the questions and perform some management. Thanks a lot, Meredith, for setting all this up, guys. That'll wrap up today's webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our guys and girls over here at Market Time. You can reach us at support@markettime.com. Same thing for Brandwise, support@brandwise.com, or call into our offices and we can help you guys out with whatever you need. But I'll let everyone get to lunch. Thanks so much for joining. See you guys later.